Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today that can completely transform your life. Every single word you speak to yourself matters. The conversations you have inside your mind are shaping the world you see outside. If you want to attract everything you desire, you have to start by speaking to yourself in a way that lifts you higher, not pulls you down. You can't plant seeds of doubt and expect a harvest of success. You can't keep saying, I'm not enough, I'll never make it, and then expect to walk into abundance. Life doesn't work that way. Ladies and gentlemen, the first truth I need you to hold on to is that you are what you repeatedly say to yourself. The conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation you will ever have in your life because it is the foundation of your identity. You cannot rise above the story you keep telling yourself, and you cannot become something you constantly deny yourself to be. The way you speak to yourself either sets you free or keeps you trapped. Every time you open your mouth and call yourself weak, unworthy, or incapable, you are building a wall around your own potential. But every time you speak strength, possibility, and hope, you are tearing those walls down and paving a way for your greatness. Think about it this way. You don't need anybody else to tell you that you are enough. You need to tell yourself that. You don't need people to validate your dreams. You need to validate them with your own words. Because here's the truth. If you keep feeding yourself negativity, you will eventually starve your confidence. And when your confidence is gone, your chances of success shrink. But if you keep feeding yourself power, if you keep affirming your worth, if you keep declaring that you are blessed, talented, capable, and ready, your spirit will rise to the level of your confession. That's not just positive thinking. That's rewiring your entire being for success. Now, I know some of you have spent years talking yourself down. You wake up and the first thought you hear is, I'm tired. You face an obstacle and the first words that slip out are, I can't. You look at an opportunity and immediately say, that's not for me. Let me tell you something. That voice has lied to you long enough. That's not the voice of faith. That's not the voice of possibility. That's not the voice of God. That is the voice of fear. And fear only grows if you keep feeding it. You need to starve fear by refusing to repeat its words. When fear says you can't, you need to answer back, I can do all things through him who strengthens me. When doubt says you're not good enough, you need to say, I am wonderfully made and I am here for a purpose. The most successful people in the world aren't always the smartest or the most talented, but they all have one thing in common. They refuse to let negative self-talk run their lives. They understand that the mind is like a garden. If you plant weeds in it, weeds will grow. But if you plant seeds of greatness, eventually you will see the harvest of that greatness. Your words are the seeds. Every I am statement you make is planting something in your future. When you say I am strong, you are planting strength. When you say I am capable, you are planting capability. When you say I am ready, you are planting readiness. Don't underestimate the power of those small seeds, because when the storms of life come, and they will come, what you've planted inside yourself is what will keep you standing. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear me today. Stop calling yourself broken when you're healing. Stop calling yourself poor when you're on your way to abundance. Stop calling yourself a failure when you are simply in the process of learning. The labels you put on yourself shape the limits you place on yourself. If you want to change your life, start by changing your words. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you love. Encourage yourself the way you would encourage a child. Build yourself up the way you would build up a friend, because the truth is, if you don't believe in you, it's going to be hard for the world to. And the good news is, you can start changing that story right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the world doesn't just listen to what you say. It feels the energy behind it. Everything you put out into the atmosphere comes back to you in one form or another. And the energy of your self-talk is like a magnet pulling experiences towards you. When you constantly tell yourself you're unlucky, life seems to keep handing you bad breaks. When you speak lack, you attract more lack. When you focus on what's missing, you keep seeing what's missing. But the moment you shift your self-talk to gratitude, to possibility, to faith, something powerful begins to happen. Suddenly, opportunities start appearing. People begin to show up to help you, and doors that once looked locked begin to swing wide open. That's because the world responds to the energy you're giving off, and that energy is shaped by the way you speak to yourself every single day. See, some of you are walking around with a negative broadcast running from the inside. You may not say it out loud, but in your mind, you're constantly repeating things like, I'll never get ahead, I'll never meet the right person, I'll never live the life I dream of. And then you wonder why you keep running into the same obstacles, the same toxic relationships, the same closed doors. It's because the energy of your self-talk is announcing to the world who you think you are and what you think you deserve. The world has no choice but to mirror it back to you. If you broadcast in defeat, you'll see defeat everywhere. If you broadcast in victory, you'll see victories lining up to meet you. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying life is always easy, or that if you just say one positive thing, everything magically changes overnight. No, what I'm saying is that your words set the tone for how you handle life and how life handles you. The energy you give yourself when you wake up in the morning is the energy you carry into your job, into your relationships, into your goals. If you start your day saying, here we go again, another struggle, then don't be surprised when the day feels heavy. But if you start your day saying, I am alive, I am blessed, and I'm ready to see something good today, you shift the energy of the entire day before it even begins. People can sense your energy. You ever notice how some folks walk into a room and immediately light it up? They may not be the richest or the most famous, but something about them draws people in. That's the power of positive self-talk radiating outward. And then there are others who walk into the same room and the atmosphere gets heavy because their inner dialogue has been tearing them down so long that it leaks out into their presence. Which one are you? Are you the person whose energy attracts goodness, or are you the person whose energy pushes blessings away? What you speak to yourself becomes the way you carry yourself. If you keep saying, I am strong, your posture changes, your voice gets firmer, and people take you seriously. If you keep saying, I am capable, you walk into opportunities with confidence, and people want to invest in you. If you keep saying, I am deserving of love, you stop settling for people who mistreat you and start attracting relationships that honor your worth. On the other hand, if you keep repeating, I'm not enough, you'll shrink in the presence of opportunity. If you keep saying, I'm unlucky, you'll walk right past blessings because you've convinced yourself they weren't meant for you. The universe is like a mirror, and it reflects back the energy you send out. If you want joy, speak joy. If you want success, speak success. If you want peace, speak peace. Don't wait for the world to hand you something different. Change the broadcast inside of you first. Once you begin to fill your inner world with words of strength, faith, and gratitude, the outer world has no choice but to align itself with that energy. And when that shift happens, you will start to attract everything you once thought was impossible. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand something very powerful today. Every word you speak to yourself is like a seed being planted in the soil of your subconscious mind. Just like a farmer knows the harvest depends on the seeds he plants, your future depends on the words you sow inside of. If you keep planting seeds of doubt, you will reap a harvest of hesitation. If you keep planting seeds of fear, you will reap a harvest of limitation. But if you choose to plant seeds of confidence, strength, faith, and abundance, you will reap a harvest that looks like the life you've always dreamed of. Your subconscious doesn't argue with you. It doesn't fight with you. It simply accepts what you feed it and begins to shape your actions, decisions, and outlook around it. Think about this. Every time you say, I can't, your subconscious doesn't know you're just frustrated in the moment. It takes that statement and builds a pattern, reinforcing the belief that you are incapable. So the next time an opportunity comes, your subconscious reminds you of that seed you planted. Remember, you said you can. And suddenly, you don't even try. But when you say, I can, I will, I am able, your subconscious goes to work gathering the strength, the creativity, and the courage to make it happen. It looks for solutions instead of excuses. It notices opportunities instead of obstacles. And it keeps you moving toward the vision you've spoken to yourself. This is why you have to be so careful with your self-talk, because your subconscious doesn't filter out sarcasm or frustration. It just believes you. You keep saying, I'm always broke, and your subconscious creates behaviors that keep you broke. You keep saying, nobody ever chooses me, and your subconscious builds habits that keep you isolated. But if you flip the script, if you start saying, I am financially growing, I am worthy of love, I am chosen for greatness, then your subconscious begins shaping you into a person who recognizes money opportunities, who attracts love, who stands tall in their purpose. The seeds you plant today decide the harvest you see tomorrow. Look back at your life for a moment. Think about the things you've been telling yourself for years. Haven't they shown up in your reality? If you've always told yourself you're unlucky, how often has life proved you right? If you've told yourself you're not smart enough, how many chances did you pass on because you believe that? And on the flip side, think about those moments when you spoke faith over yourself. Maybe you said, I can get through this, and you did. Maybe you said something good is coming, and it came. That's not coincidence. That's the power of seed. And the thing about seeds is this, they don't grow overnight. A farmer doesn't plant one day and wake up the next with a field of crops. It takes time, it takes nurturing, it takes consistency. The same is true for your words. You may start speaking greatness today and not see results tomorrow, but if you keep watering those seeds with repetition and faith, your subconscious will eventually yield a harvest that will amaze you. The problem is too many people quit before the roots even take hold. They plant a few seeds of faith, then dig them up with words of doubt. You can't say, I'm blessed in the morning, and then undo it by saying, I'm cursed at night. You've got to be consistent in planting the right seeds if you want to see the right harvest. So hear me today. Stop scattering seeds carelessly. Speak intentionally. When you wake up, plant seeds of strength. I am strong. When you face challenges, plant seeds of resilience. I am built for this. When you chase a dream, plant seeds of vision. I am capable and I am worthy. Over time, those words become the roots of a mindset that cannot be shaken. And when your mindset is unshakable, your life will begin to look like the garden you've been planting all along. Ladies and gentlemen, challenges are not optional in life. They are guaranteed no matter how much you plan, no matter how careful you are, no matter how much faith you have. Life is going to throw you curveballs. You're going to face setbacks, disappointments, betrayals, losses, and failures. That's just part of the journey. But here's the difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck. It's not the challenge itself, it's how they talk to themselves during the challenge. See, when life knocks you down, the first voice you hear is the one inside your own head. And if that voice is filled with fear, if it's filled with defeat, if it's filled with self-pity, then you'll stay on the ground. But if that voice is filled with courage, if it's filled with determination, If it's filled with the reminder that you've overcome before and you'll overcome again, then nothing can keep you down for long. When the storms of life come, you don't need to be talking to yourself like a victim. You need to be talking to yourself like a warrior. You need to be saying, this storm won't last forever. This problem didn't come to destroy me. It came to teach me. I've been through worse and I made it, so I'm going to make it through this too. Courage is not about pretending you're not afraid. Courage is about feeling the fear and choosing to speak words that push you forward anyway. Every time you face a challenge, you've got a choice. You can feed your fear or you can feed your faith. And the way you feed either one is by the words you speak. Let me tell you something I've learned in my own life. Pain is temporary, but the lessons it teaches are permanent. When I've gone through tough seasons, I had every reason to sit there and say, why me? Why now? I can't handle this. But I also knew those words weren't going to help me. They were only going to make the mountain look bigger. So instead, I started telling myself, this is tough, but I'm tougher. This hurts, but I've survived worse. This looks impossible, but I serve a God who specializes in the impossible. And do you know what happened? My perspective shifted. My energy shifted. And slowly but surely, the situation shifted. That's the power of speaking courage to yourself. Some of you are in the middle of a challenge right now. Maybe it's financial. Maybe it's in your health. Maybe it's in your relationships. And you've been talking to yourself in a defeated tone saying, I don't know how I'll make it. I don't think I can do this. But I'm here to tell you, stop rehearsing your weakness and start declaring your strength. Remind yourself of every mountain you've already climbed, every storm you've already endured, every battle you've already fought. If you made it through those, why would you think this one is different? That same strength, that same resilience, that same faith that carried you before is still inside of you now. The world is watching how you respond to your toughest moments. Your children are watching. Your friends are watching. And more importantly, your own spirit is watching. If you tell yourself, I can't, then your spirit will shrink. But if you tell yourself, I can, your spirit will rise. Words of courage ignite strength you didn't even know you had. It's like striking a match in the dark. It may look small at first, but that light will grow until the darkness can't survive around it. So the next time life throws you a challenge, don't let your first words be words of fear. Let them be words of power. Tell yourself, I am not backing down. I am not giving up. I am stronger than this problem, and I will come out better on the other side. Speak courage, and courage will carry you through. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most powerful forces you can ever tap into is gratitude. Gratitude has the ability to shift your entire life, not because your circumstances change immediately, but because your perspective does. When you start speaking gratitude into your life, you open the door for more blessings to come in. The problem with so many people is that they wait for something big to happen before they say thank you. They think gratitude is only for when they finally get the promotion, when they finally buy the house, when they finally find a relationship they want. But that's not how it works. Gratitude is what attracts those very things in the first place. The more you speak words of thankfulness, even for the little things, the more life will hand you bigger things to be thankful for. Think about it like this. Nobody wants to keep giving to someone who never says thank you. If you gave somebody a gift and they acted like it wasn't enough, how eager would you be to bless them again? Now imagine how God feels when he gives you breath in your lungs, food on your table, people who care about you, and you don't even take a second to say thank you. Gratitude is a signal to heaven that you are ready for more. When you say, I'm thankful for what I have, you are acknowledging that you see the good in your life, and that acknowledgement positions you to receive greater. The energy of gratitude is magnetic. If you keep saying, I don't have enough, I'm tired of this life, nothing good ever happens to me, you push blessings away. But if you start saying, I'm grateful I woke up today, I'm grateful for the strength I still have, I'm grateful that I'm still in the fight, you begin to pull opportunities toward you. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. And when your focus changes, your energy changes. And when your energy changes, the way the world responds to you changes. I'll tell you something personal. There were times in my life when I didn't have what I thought I needed. I didn't have the money I wanted. I didn't have the success I was dreaming about. I didn't even have the answers to half my problems. But one thing I did have was the ability to say, thank you, Lord, for what I do have. Thank you for another chance. Thank you for another day. Thank you for keeping me when I thought I was going to break. And every time I shifted into gratitude, doors started opening. People showed up to help me. New opportunities came. I'm not saying it was magic. I'm saying gratitude changed me, and when I changed, my life changed. Some of you are stuck right now because your words are filled with complaints. You're rehearsing what you don't have so much that you can't even see what you do have. You say, I don't have the car I want, but you forgot you've got legs that carry you. You say, I don't have the house I want, but you forgot you've got a roof over your head tonight. You say, I don't have the money I need, but you forgot you've got a mind that can create new ideas. Don't let ungrateful words block the blessings that are waiting for you. The truth is, gratitude is not just a reaction, it's a decision. You decide to say thank you. You decide to find the good. You decide to speak words of appreciation no matter what's going on. And when you make gratitude your language, you're telling life, I'm ready for more. The more thankful you are, the more you'll have to be thankful for. And that's a principle that never fails. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand something that separates dreamers from doers, talkers from achievers, and wishers from winners. It's not just about what you say, it's about what you believe behind what you say. Anybody can open their mouth and say words, but if there's no faith backing it up, those words don't carry power. You can stand in the mirror all day and tell yourself, I'm successful, I'm strong, I'm blessed. But if deep down you don't believe it, then those words just bounce off your own ears. The difference comes when your self-talk is laced with conviction, when you say it with so much belief that your actions, your attitude, and your energy begin to line up with it. That's when doors start opening. That's when opportunities start coming. That's when life has no choice but to shift in your favor. Belief is the fuel that gives life to your words. Without belief, words are empty shells. With belief, words become weapons that break chains, open paths, and rewrite stories. Some of you have been speaking, but you haven't been believing. You've been saying, I want to be successful, but inside you whisper, that'll never happen for me. You've been saying, I'm going to find love, but inside you whisper, I'm not worthy of it. You've been saying, I'm going to make it out of this struggle, but inside you whisper, this is just how my life is. And let me tell you, that inner contradiction cancels out your progress. The universe doesn't just listen to your lips, it listens to your heart. If your words and your heart aren't in agreement, nothing moves. That's why you have to train yourself not only to speak power, but to believe in the power you're speaking. When you say, I am blessed, you've got to carry yourself like a blessed person. When you say, I am successful, you've got to walk with the confidence of someone who knows success is already chasing them down. When you say, I am strong, you've got to respond to challenges with the mindset of a warrior, not a victim. Belief means acting as if what you've spoken is already on its way. You don't wait until the blessing shows up to believe it. You believe it, And that belief pulls the blessing into your life. Now, I know belief isn't always easy. Life has a way of beating you down, of stacking evidence against your dreams, of reminding you of every time you fail. But faith isn't about evidence. It's about expectation. Belief is looking at the storm and still saying the sun is coming. Belief is looking at your bank account and still saying money is on its way. Belief is looking at your scars and still saying healing belongs to me. You got to get to a place where you stop letting circumstances dictate your belief and start letting your belief dictate your circumstance. Every successful person you admire didn't just talk about where they wanted to go. They believed it so deeply that their actions matched their words. They were willing to wake up early, stay up late, work hard, sacrifice, and keep going, not because they saw the results yet, but because they believed the results were already guaranteed if they kept pushing. That same kind of belief is available to you. It's not reserved for the special few. It's reserved for the ones bold enough to believe in what they're saying. So hear me today. Don't just repeat words to yourself like they're empty affirmations. Speak with faith. Believe that your words carry weight. Believe that your destiny is listening. Believe that God himself hears you and honors your faith, because when you speak and believe, the impossible becomes possible and the life you desire begins to move from a dream to your reality.